Exiles only want one thing, and it's disgusting. But you are in luck, because in today's video I'm going to reveal my new low-budget Magic Find build that can easily farm T16 maps as a solo player while making consistent profit. Is this too good to be true? You will be surprised. Starting a Magic Find character for the first time is very challenging because you need to carefully balance item quantity, item rarity and your overall build power. Certainly, Magic Find is much easier if you play with an Aurobot or if you simply start with a high budget. Nonetheless, with this guide I'm going to take you step by step into making a viable Magic Find build from start to finish, from the league start to the end game. All the content of this video can be found inside my massive Google spreadsheet, the Magic Find Academy Strategy Guide, link in the description below. Let's start with leveling. As a ranger, your first skill is Galvanic Arrow with momentum support. Then you add Mirage Archer and add it cold damage until you have a 4 link. Meanwhile, you can also add some ballistas, the Sniper's Mark manually cast, so that you can increase a little bit your boss damage. For the Bandit quest, I recommend helping Alira, which provides 15% elemental resistances and a bit of crit multi and mana regeneration. At level 12, you can switch to Rain of Arrows, which really improves your clear speed, and between level 16 and 24, you can unlock some nice auras, such as Herald of Ice, Herald of Ash, Haste and Precision. Now, try also to invest a little bit on your critical strike chance, which can really help you through the acts. Finally, after Act 6 and Merciless Lab, you should be running your main skill, which is Lightning Arrow. To make it feel good, you should have at least 4 or 5 projectiles. After you complete the campaign, you should farm maps, white and yellow maps, to complete your Atlas, reach level 90, and at that point you can transition to your Magic Find build. If you want to play T16 maps with your Magic Find, I highly recommend to get at least to level 94-95. Let's finally speak about mapping gear. As a low-budget build, we want to stay as cheap as humanly possible, and the first and only 6th link we must get is Wind Reaper Imperial Bow. Now, this bow offers decent flat elemental damage, some attack speed, and more importantly, quantity of items found and rarity of items found, as long as you can freeze and shock your enemies. Now, Wind Reaper is good to start with, but in the end game you probably want to switch these for a rare elemental bow, which can provide much higher damage. The body armor is Greed's Embrace with up to 15% increased quantity of items found and up to 50% rarity. Now, try to get a reasonably high amount of cold resistance. You just need a 4 link inside the chest, a 6 link is not needed at all. The harvest enchant should be either strength or intelligence so that you can fix your attributes. A good thing about this body armor is that the base is a golden plate, so you get some flat armor that can be scaled with other means such as the granite flasks or determination to get a reasonably high amount of physical damage reduction. Following next, we have the gloves. Now, the traditional choice for Magic Find builds has been Sadima's Touch with up to 10% increased quantity of items found. In my opinion, that is too much of a sacrifice. It is much better to get yourself a pair of rare gloves that you can craft with some maximum life, some useful resistances, especially chaos resistance, which may the cause of a lot of deaths. As for the implicits, you can get 10% increased effect of your marks, which is really great against rare monsters. And if you can roll it, you can go for Rage, but this is very rare. If you can't afford it, you can just go for some random increased damage, such as 5% increased damage per frenzy charge, critical strike chance, flat lightning damage, and so on. There is not really a true guideline for that. Goldwyrm is the obvious choice for Magic Find builds, These boots can offer up to 20% increased quantity of items found, which is the highest amount you can possibly get for your magic find. Now, the movement speed is very low, but there is some sacrifice to be made here. The lab enchant that I recommend is attack speed. Viscous Leash is another great budget option. It offers some strength that you can increase with the intrinsic catalyst. I highly recommend doing that. 5% increased quantity of items found, some healthy cold resistance, and more importantly, Rampage, which also scales your increased rarity of items found. A very powerful item before you get your Headhunter. Ventor's Gamble is the best ring for magic find in my opinion because it offers a lot of life and elemental resistances. The issue is though that the rolls of the ring are very variable, so you can get negative values for quantity, rarity, and elemental resistances. In my opinion, the right priority is for positive quantity, positive rarity, and then you can get some elemental resistances that fit your build. You can also improve them with tempering catalysts and make sure to combine the two rings in such a way that your resistances are capped. For the amulet, we want to go for a rare one. Now, the Shaper Influence can provide 10% increased quantity of items found, which can be rolled with an item level of 85 plus. Now, this is a fairly rare mod, to be honest, but you can still easily get it with just a bit of chaos spamming or alteration spamming. For the anointment, you can get Discipline and Training or Sovereignty. Personally, you should just sustain your mana just fine, so I think that the way to go is Discipline and Training, which provides a lot of life, plus 30 maximum life, and plus 10% increased maximum life. Remember to use the catalysts to increase your attributes up to 28 strength and intelligence, which is really massive. I personally think that rare amulets are a much better choice compared to both Viscous Collar and the Ascetic. The Ascetic comes with too many drawbacks. You have to use a magic helmet, a normal quiver. That is not really worth it in my opinion, and Viscous Collar bonuses are just whatever. You only get quantity for normal monsters and rarity for magic ones, whereas 10% increased quantity of items found from rare amulets can apply to every monster, including rare ones and uniques. A rare helmet is another good chance to get some healthy attributes, life, and elemental resistances. Make sure to have an open suffix so that you can craft the 45% increased rarity of items dropped by slaying rare or unique enemies. For the implicits, we really want 9% increased mana reservation efficiency and 23% reduced mana cost of attacks. They are both very helpful with sustaining our mana. Since we don't use the Ascetic, we can instead go for a Void Fletcher. Now, this quiver is pretty damn cheap at the start of the league, and it provides a lot of useful stats, flat cold damage, cold resistance, some projectile speed, which can be converted with the bow mastery to projectile damage directly, and then you also get some mana back when you kill an enemy. So, in my opinion, that's a very good choice, and the void charges, although nerfed, are still pretty damn good. So let's speak about flasks, and the first one is Dying Sun. It's an evergreen. 2 additional projectiles are very powerful for any Magic Find build. Another centerpiece of the build is Divination Distillate, which provides up to 12% increased quantity and up to 30% rarity. Now, this can also be increased with Flask Effect, and side notes, it's also provide 50% elemental resistances. Now, you shouldn't really rely on that for capping your character. You should be capped at 75% without flasks, and that's because sometimes your Divination Distillate will just run off and you really can't do much about it. Now, to keep Divination Distillate as active as possible for the longest time, you really need to keep your life low, and to do that we use Petrified Blood, which basically prevents us from reaching more than 5% life except with our flasks. So that's really the way we want to do that. And to start lowering a life, we can either take some hits or more simply use Blood Rage, which also provides nice frenzy charges. So then we have some magic flasks, The Diamond Flask is very useful to cap your crit. You have 100% increased global critical strike chance and then 55% increased critical strike chance as an explicit for tier 1, which is all available from item level 82. The Granite Flask is very useful to increase your armor. 60% increased armor becomes available as T1 at item level 84. And I personally really like increasing the armor because you already have some base armor from the Golden Plate Grid's Embrace. And honestly, physical mitigation is something this build really lacks. Many players would just go for a Jade Flask plus Grace instead of Granite plus Determination, but I think that overall physical mitigation provides a much more consistent layer of defense, while the evasion is much more RNG gated. Last but not least, we have the Quicksilver Flask. Now, this is a staple for any mapping build that is taken seriously. It provides 40% increased movement speed, and as an explicit, you have different options. You can go for maximum movement speed with 14% T1 and 25% increased effect, or you can fix your build by adding some immunity to bleeding or some reduction to the effect of curses. It really depends on how confident you feel on your build and how fast you want to go. The passive tree can be filled with unique jewels, and the most expensive one is the large ring variant of Trade of Hope. This unique jewel is extremely powerful because it gives us access to Master Fletcher and multi-shot, adding +2 arrows. It also can give access to Primeval Force and One with Nature. You could also take Aspect of the Eagle and Critical Strike Chance, but in my opinion there are better passives in the Atlas, but if you have more passives, if you have more level, definitely give them a go. The second jewel is Lionized Fall. Melee and melee weapon type modifiers in radius are transformed to bow modifiers. And this is highly synergistic with the top area of the tree, because if you fit the jewel right here, you can get access to dagger damage, crit strike chance and multiplier, and then this incredible notable 30% increased critical strike chance with bows, 30% crit multi, and 100% crit chance against enemies on full life. The mastery is also absolutely crazy. Critical strikes have Culling Strike. I think this is absolutely phenomenal, a very good tech for any low budget build. Next up, we have the Watcher's Eye. The most important synergistic modifier is increased critical strike chance while affected by Wrath. You can also get something related to determination and to precision, but of course that's gonna cost a bit more. And then you got Efficient Training and Fertile Mind. These are very useful to just increase your attributes and satisfy your requirements. They are not really needed in most cases if you can cap attributes with your rare gear. Instead, you can go for some rare Abyss Jewel or rare Viridian Jewels that give maximum life and some flat elemental damage, critical strike chance, all the good stuff. Cluster jewels are a very important part of the build. You want 2 large clusters with 8 passive skills. As notables, you want Feed the Fury and Martial Prowess, and you also need an extra notable so that the cluster jewel is ordered in the right way. Now, Martial Prowess gives some bonuses to attack damage, attack speed, and global accuracy rating, while Feed the Fury is about leeching, 0.4% of attack damage leeches as life, 30% increased damage while leeching, and 15% increased attack speed while leeching. These are pretty good. Drive the Destruction is also decent, but we don't allocate that. It's just there because in this way Martial Prowess and Feed the Fury will be in the right order. The medium clusters are based on crit chance, and the notables for those should be Pressure Points and Precise Retaliation. They are very powerful in my opinion. I can show you real quick. You have Pressure Points. Critical strikes have a 5% chance to deal double damage, 30% increased critical strike chance, and then you got 60% increased critical strike chance if you haven't blocked recently. That's a very good way to increase your critical strike chance so that it's capped, and you can easily freeze and shock enemies and proc the Wind Reaper effect. The small clusters are the easiest. They should have 6% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, 2 passive skills, and you should look for the notables Uncompromising and Electro-Cutting Presence. Now, if you check the passive tree, you can see that Electric Presence serves mana reservation efficiency for Wrath, along with 20% increased effect of lightning ailments. And then Uncompromising is about reducing the mana reservation for Determination. This is the way in which we can sustain your auras. Our ascendancy is clearly Dead Eye, which is the most common choice for Magic Find builds, and for good reasons. First, we have Gathering Winds, which provides Tailwind, which increases action speed by 8%. And every time you use a skill, you accumulate a Gale Force, which stacks up to 10, increasing the effect of Tailwind by 15%. Then a very useful tool for a single target, Focal Point, with 75% increased effect of your marks. That's absolutely insane. And also, that's for survivability, 25% less damage taken from other enemies near your marked enemy. Ricochet is useful for your clear speed with +1 chain. And then we got the possibly the best notable of the Ascendancy, which is Endless Munitions with +2 additional projectiles. Now, you could go Far Shot instead of Ricochet, but the problem is that while Far Shot increases your damage a lot by the distance, it also reduces it by 20% at a close range. And while I attempted to go for Far Shot, I realized that many times I was dying because I was overrun by monsters, and when you are surrounded by monsters, you really need to kill them as quickly as possible. So Far Shot really makes it harder because your damage will be -20% from close range. So yes, I think that Far Shot is a suboptimal choice unless you really play always in the right position, which is honestly unlikely. Speaking about the passive tree, we have applied some Honor Tattoo of the Atungo with 1% increase the reservation efficiency of skills. That's really helpful for our mana pool. We also got 8% reservation from this cluster, as well as Charisma for 16 increased mana reservation. That's a lot. And then the Reservation Mastery, which really can increase our damage by a lot. We have a total of 6 auras. Then going up, we have Coordination, a bit of Life with Blood Siphon, Trickery, and Assassination. Going to the right and rising on top, we have Mark the Prey, Blood Drinker, Death Perception, and the cluster for the Daggers, which in combination with Lionized Fall can unlock really powerful crit chance and crit multiplier. Then we have the first large cluster, the Trade of Ops setup, and the powerful Earthseeker and the critical strike chance cluster here. We allocated the mastery 150% increased critical strike chance against enemies on full life. This is very, very powerful, especially in combination with backstabbing. Of course, we are taking King of the Hill, which provides 100% increased critical strike chance, and all of these small passives, which are also very, very powerful. Herbalism is a lot of life. We also take the Life Mastery, 15% increased max life if we have no life modifiers or on our body armor. We also have Ballistics, Heart of Oak, Primal Spirit, Finesse, and if we go down this road, we can get some Mana Leech. This is pretty important to sustain the mana pool. Lethality, which is an incredibly powerful projectile cluster. And then some Flask nodes, 20% increased Flask effect duration, 10% effect of Flasks, and we also remove Maim and Hinder when we use Flasks. I selected this mastery because I really want to recharge my Flasks as soon as possible. Point Blank is useful to get out of trouble if you are overrun by monsters. And finally, we have the second large clusters with the connected medium clusters. So that's pretty much it. If you were higher level than these, you can get some more life, some more damage, depending on what you feel the most. I personally would love to get the 6% maximum life, another life mastery for sure. Then you can possibly invest in aspect of the eagle, bow damage and critical strike chance, maybe get some more crit, small passives down here. Or if you want to be more tanky, you can change a bit the things around and get some suppression with these two clusters. The choice is really yours. The build is rather flexible past level 94. This is the main bone of the passive tree. Let me now review the gem setup. The main 6 link is Lightning Arrow, which is useful both for single target and clearing. The support gems are elemental damage with attacks, Awakened added lightning damage, but if you have a larger budget, I would recommend getting Awakened elemental damage and Awakened added cold damage instead of lightning damage. Increased critical damage support is great because we have almost capped critical strike chance. Trinity support is a staple from a very long time. And then the new returning projectile support, which replaces the Vengeance Cascade Anoint, which was recently nerfed. The body armor contains the auras, so we have Herald of Ice, Petrified Blood, Wrath, and Determination. The last two sockets are Custom Death and Portal, which is very useful quality of life. Next up, we have the gloves with Arrogance Support, Defiance Banner, and Precision. This setup is particularly synergistic with Petrified Blood because the only available life pool is the bottom 50%, the upper 50% we don't use, and so reserving that life has basically no extra cost. Inside the boots we have cast when damage taken with Molten Shell. Now Molten Shell is really dependent on the amount of armor we get, and as mentioned before, we have some granite flasks that can increase our armor, some flat armor from Golden Plate, and then Determination. So in my opinion, that's a very good defensive choice. We also have Sniper Mark and Mark on Hit, which automatically applies the sniper on rare monsters or unique monsters. Inside the helmet we got Blood Rage, Enduring Cry, Anomalous Second Wind, and Divergent Dash. Now Divergent Dash is particularly important because the Divergent quality provides phasing, which really helps in going through monsters, especially when they are very tight to each other. So let's now talk about farming strategies for your new low-budget Magic Find build. The map layout you're going to run is Tropical Island, is a very linear layout, an open one, and it is overall very comfortable to play. And from this expansion we got a new divination cards called the Fortunate, which can reward you with 2 Divine Orbs for 12 divination cards. Now 12 seems like a big number, but in reality these cards are very common, and in fact you can expect to get at least 1.5 per map. When rolling the maps, you should prioritize getting at least 25% monster pack size, and at the same time you should avoid some very deadly modifiers such as Reflect Elemental Damage and less Aura of Effect for players. As for league mechanics, many players would be tempted to go for Abyss and Legion, which are very juicy. They contain a lot of monsters, a lot of rare monsters, but the issue here is that your low budget Magic Find build won't be able to handle that content. You don't have enough damage, you don't have enough survivability. Even if you do, you'll just be very slow, and your profit per hour would be slower than a non-Magic Find build. So you have to focus on league mechanics that are viable for you, you can run fast, and that can really make your Magic Find build shine. So my personal choice is to go for Strongboxes and Harbingers. Those are very easy mechanic because the monsters are going to spawn around the Strongbox and inside the blue circles of the Harbingers. And the fact is that you are going to know exactly where the monsters are, so you can back up, go shoot from afar, and stay much safer. Now we are going to use the Polished Ambush Scarab, the Polished Harbinger Scarab, Gilded Divination Scarab to drop as many divination cards as possible, and then the Gilded Torment Scarab. I will go back to Torment a bit later because there are some very interesting new synergies about this league mechanic. Sextants are 500% increased item quantity for strongbox monsters, which is incredibly powerful for divination card farming. Then we got the Harbinger Sextant, which will make fracturing shards much more common. Hunted Traders and Gloom Shrine. Now, Hunted Traders is very clever because these minions are going to attack the other monsters inside your map. So while the natural map monsters and the Hunted Traders are fighting, you are free to shoot at them from afar and very safely. That's a great tech for low budget builds. And another great tech is Gloom Shrine. Now, Gloom Shrine and Resonating Shrine are Sextant exclusive and they are both very powerful. Gloom Shrine is going to provide additional chaos damage, and on top of that, the enemies killed explode, dealing a certain percentage of their life as damage to the surrounding enemies. That's incredibly powerful for your clear speed and can really carry your build through the map. On top of that, you're also getting 50% increased duration of shrine effects, which is very synergistic with our Atlas passive tree. Speaking about the Atlas passive tree, we want to focus on strong boxes, harbingers, and shrines. Briefly, we want to take Twice Tempted with the additional pack chance. That's very synergistic with the Sextant. We have Tamper-Proof, Secret Operations, and finally, Vault of Mysteries along with Diviner's Strongbox chance. Harbingers, we just take all of the passives: Ominous Arrival, Unspeakable Offensive, First Wave. Shrines is also very good, we take all of the passives. Supplication adds an additional shrine. Shrine duration is very good, very synergistic. And then we got Drawn to Power, which adds some monsters to the shrines, and Syncretism, which is probably one of the most important passive notables of the strategy. 30% increased effect of shrine buffs is huge, and each shrine also adds an additional random shrine effect. And that random shrine effect can be whatever, included the Covetous Shrine, which has 10% chance to appear in your maps thanks to this passive notable. Now, the Covetous Shrine provides 15% increased quantity and 50% increased rarity. As for the remaining passives, we want to focus on Torment. And here is a new keystone that is very interesting in my opinion. Speaker of the Dead. Tormented spirits in your maps can possess players for 20 seconds, and tormented spirits cannot possess monsters. Note that they will not possess monsters, but they can still touch them, which is very good. Players can also touch monsters up to 50 nearby normal or magic monsters for each tormented spirit possessing them. Now, the main strategy regarding this keystone is to be possessed by a tormented spirit, touching the monsters from the strong boxes, which are affected also by the 500% sextants, and then kill those monsters. So we multiply the 500% increased item quantity with the extra bonus provided by the tormented spirits, because we also have these small passives allocated which grant additional item quantity to touched monsters, up to 60%, which is really great in my opinion. We can also add an additional Tormented Spirit with the Paranormal Meeting passive notable, and the Tormented Spirit duration is also increased. Now, one of the main problems about Tormented Spirits in the past was that the artificial intelligence was kind of messy. They were running around like brainless chickens, and all in all, they weren't that great, right? Also, they had very few life, so you pretty much ended up killing them all. Now, Tormented Spirits have been substantially buffed and now they are much tankier. So, especially on a low budget build, you are not going to kill them by accident. You can go close to them, let you be possessed by the Tormented Spirits, and then you can easily touch monsters and kill them for profit. Additionally, we also want to run some Nico nodes. In particular, we have all ends and mining partnerships so that most of our masters are going to be Nico. We're getting Nico almost every map, and the synergy is that we also allocate Pact with Energy, which provides plus 1% max res, 35% increased damage, and 15% increased movement speed for each Voltaxic Sulfate that is touched by the player. Now, this is really insane. This is a free bonus to all low budget builds, and with the all ends pass keystone allocated, you can comfortably have this bonus active for almost all of your maps. To increase your chance to get Nico even further, we can allocate also Delve Mission Chance, as you can see, Med Devotion down here, and then a few more small passives up here, Delve Mission Chance. Needless to say, as Magic Find builds, we also want to allocate all of these small passives for item quantity and item rarity, as well as the map modifier effect. Now, as you might have noticed, we don't have the Eater of World influence, and that's because altar farming is not something you can really do with a low budget Magic Find build, in my opinion. Extra keystones, we have Singular Focus, which is really great to keep sustaining Tropical Island, and then we also allocated all of the extra passive notables so that we can get as many shrines, harbingers, and strongboxes as humanly possible. When you're going to run your map, the map crafting option that you want to choose is Domination, which is currently available on the map device. And adding 3 additional shrines is going to be very powerful, because 3 additional shrines will provide a total of 6 additional bonuses thanks to the Atlas passive notables that we read before, and that's really insane. Let's now take a look at the map showcase. I might die a couple of times because these maps are rather hard, but even if you die, that's completely fine. You have custom death portal. Nico is always great because of the bonuses it provides. Here we take Tormented Spirit. I personally recommend to play with tab on so that you can see your next shrine and plan your movement accordingly. Gloom Shrine, this is very powerful. As you see, the build overall is pretty smooth. The damage is very good, both because of the shrines and because of how we build the character. The first divination card came from a strongbox, as you might expect. The 500% increased item quantity is pretty massive. Another shrine. Another divination card. They are pretty common, to be honest. We are not finding many Tormented Spirits. We have many buffs right now, and when we get that many, it's really easy to just snowball. This is a powerful Harbinger, 3rd divination card this map. Powerful Harbingers are a bit more dangerous, so you want to keep at distance, but they have also more currency shards typically. Always beware about Ice Nova, about the Detonate Dead. Those are very deadly modifiers. Let's attempt to get that Tormented Spirit. Almost, but it still tapped the monsters, so that's good. Here is another one. Okay, got. So we touch the monster and we just kill them. No divination card this time. Again, Tormented Spirit. We're looking for some minions, for some strong boxes, and then we kill them all. That's how it works. Now clearly we already dropped many divination cards, so we can't really expect to drop like an entire set, but that's fine. Last Nico node. Okay, we can reopen this strongbox. Sometimes the Ice Nova will have the 100% increased area effect. That can be very scary, so you have to keep at a distance. I personally recommend to not play Essences, Legion and Abysses because they have very deadly rare monsters. Although if you are stuck with many shrines, maybe you can still make it. Okay, that's good. We opened many boxes all together. That was a big hit. Let's try to get this Tormented Spirit. Good. The boss is sometimes a bit scary. It depends on the mods of the map, but yeah, you can totally deal with it. And that's pretty much it. As you can see, the build is quite consistent. You can farm a lot of divination cards with it, and to be honest, the overall experience was very smooth. Yes, it was also because of the shrines and because of Nico. That really plays a big role, but even without shrines, you can really tell that the build is solid, and early on it's not that hard to start snowballing. You just need to find the first 1-2 shrines, and then you're ready to go. So this is the end of today's YouTube video. I hope that you liked what I did here. I spent a lot of time min-maxing this new low-budget Magic Find build, and I hope you will have a lot of success with it during this league. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave a comment because it really helps the channel. And I will see you in the next video.